Some people are born with built-in best friends when they have siblings. That was never my case. From as early as I can remember, my older sister Bianca didn't just dislike me, she despised me. Not in the usual sibling rivalry way, where you argue over toys or fight for the front seat in the car. No. With Bianca, it felt like I was intruding on a stage where she believed only she deserved the spotlight. And the worst part? She wore a mask so flawlessly that the world never saw it. To everyone else, Bianca was radiant. Bright, funny, magnetic. Teachers adored her. Neighbors smiled when she walked by. At family reunions, she was always the one cracking jokes, organizing games, helping grandma with dessert. People fawned over her like she was made of gold. But when the lights were off, when the eyes of the world weren't watching, she turned into someone else entirely. Growing up in her shadow felt like living in a world where my every breath annoyed her. If I got a good grade, she'd roll her eyes. If I laughed too loudly, she'd mutter, "God, you're so extra." When I got my braces off and dared to smile in a photo, she edited it later and posted it with a filter that made me look like a clown. It sounds small, I know. Petty. But that's the thing, Bianca's cruelty was surgical. She never exploded, never shouted. She sliced in silence. Cold. Efficient. And it worked. By middle school, I'd already learned not to trust her. She would accidentally forget to pick me up from practice. Tell Mom I was lying when I said she stole my clothes. She once fed my fish glitter just to see what would happen. They died. I cried. She laughed. Still, I tried. I was desperate to believe she was just going through phases, that underneath it all, there was a sister who loved me. I'd buy her birthday cards, offer to help her study, even lie to my parents for her when she broke curfew. But it was never enough. If I succeeded, she mocked me. If I struggled, she smirked. It wasn't just that she didn't love me, it was like she couldn't stand the fact that I existed. And yet, our parents never saw it. To them, Bianca was a little dramatic, maybe, but harmless. She's just being a teenager, Mom would say. You two need to support each other. You're sisters. Dad would shrug. That's just how girls are. They didn't see the way she looked at me when no one else was around. Like I was something beneath her. Like I was in the way. By the time I turned 20, I'd done everything I could to carve a life of my own. I went to college out of state, took side jobs to support myself, and learned how to live without expecting calls on my birthday or texts that said, "Miss you." But when I came home that spring, things felt different. I'd finally saved enough money to buy a used car, a silver Mazda I'd dreamed about for years. It wasn't flashy, but it was mine. Every dollar, every sacrifice, every long shift, it had built that car. And when I pulled into my parents' driveway that weekend, I felt proud. Like, finally, I had done something that no one, not even Bianca, could belittle. Or so I thought. She was already home when I arrived. Sitting on the porch, phone in hand, sunglasses on, pretending not to notice me. I stepped out and waved. "Hey." She glanced at me. A half nod. No smile. "New car?" she said flatly, without even looking up from her screen. "Yeah," I said, beaming. "Saved up for it myself." "Cute." That's all she said. Cute. I tried not to let it get to me. That weekend, I ignored her snide remarks, her passive digs, the way she exaggerated yawns when I talked about my job, or how she laughed when Mom complimented my blouse. But I should have known. Should have known that Bianca never let anything go unchallenged. On Monday morning, I walked out of the house, keys in hand, backpack slung over my shoulder, coffee in my cup, and I stopped cold. There, in the driveway, was my car. And every panel, from the driver's door to the rear bumper, had been viciously keyed. Deep. Crude. Deliberate. Someone had carved a jagged line across the entire length, scratching cruel slurs into the paint. Words I won't even repeat. It wasn't random vandalism. It was a message. A personal one. And I knew exactly who had done it. I stood frozen in the driveway, coffee cup trembling in my hand, the morning sun catching the scratches in the paint like twisted veins of light. Each mark on my car felt like a fresh slap across the face. Not because of the damage itself, though that hurt too, but because I knew who had done it. Not a doubt in my mind. No hesitation. This wasn't a random act. This wasn't a stranger with a grudge. This was Bianca, my sister, the one who had always smiled at the world and snarled at me when no one was looking. The thing is, she didn't even try to hide it. She strolled out of the house 10 minutes later, yawning theatrically, phone in hand, not even glancing in my direction. She didn't have to. The smirk on her face said everything. "Wow," she said, pausing mid-step. What happened to your car? Her voice was light, faux concerned. But her eyes? Her eyes glittered with pure amusement. I stared at her, trying to keep my breathing steady. You tell me, I said quietly. She shrugged. Looks like someone hates you. And then, as if she hadn't just said something cruel, she sipped from her smoothie and turned away. I walked inside. Straight to my parents, who were in the kitchen, Dad reading the paper, Mom scrambling eggs. Someone keyed my car, I said, my voice low and shaking. Dad looked up, squinting. What? It's covered in scratches. Deep ones. Slurs carved into the paint. Mom gasped. What kind of slurs? I couldn't even bring myself to repeat them. I'm sorry, she said, stepping toward me. That's terrible. Maybe someone saw you parked somewhere they didn't like. Someone here did it, I said. Last night, while it was in the driveway. Dad lowered his paper. You think one of the neighbors? It was Bianca, I said, cutting him off. The air went cold. Silence. For a moment, I thought maybe, this was it. The moment they'd finally see it. The moment they'd stop pretending. But then Dad shook his head and let out a tired sigh. Oh, come on. You don't have proof. She wouldn't do that, Mom said firmly. That's criminal. She can be moody, but she wouldn't do something like that. I stared at them, disbelief curling in my stomach like acid. She hated that I got that car. You saw how she looked at it. She barely spoke to me the whole weekend. She's just jealous, Mom said softly. But that doesn't mean she vandalized her car. She laughed this morning. I snapped. She mocked me. She jokes when she's nervous, Dad muttered. You know how she is. That was the moment it hit me, like a punch to the chest. They were never going to defend me. Not when it came to Bianca. She had woven herself so deeply into their good graces, worn the mask for so long, that no matter what she did, they'd never believe she was capable of real malice. I was alone in this. But I wasn't staying silent. I spent the rest of the day documenting everything. I took detailed photos of every inch of the damage. I saved them in 3 different places. I filed a police report. They took a statement but warned me not to expect much without direct evidence. But I wasn't giving up. I installed a security camera near the garage, hidden, motion-activated, silent. It wasn't revenge I wanted. It was proof. Because the truth? It was bigger than a car. Bianca had always gotten away with cruelty because she knew how to hide it, twist it, deny it. But this time, I was going to catch her. This time, she wouldn't be able to charm her way out of it. This time, everyone was going to see her for what she really was. I didn't sleep that night. While the rest of the house drifted into silence, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, the image of my car's destroyed paintwork etched into my brain. Every scratch, every ugly slur, every glint of hatred, it looped behind my eyelids like some cruel movie. But I wasn't crying anymore. I was planning. Bianca thought she was untouchable. She always had. Because no one ever challenged her. Because our parents bought every excuse, swallowed every lie. Because the world only ever saw her fake smile and charming laugh. But I had had enough. The next morning, before anyone else was awake, I went out to the garage with a small box tucked under my hoodie. It was a motion sensor security camera I had borrowed from a friend, one with infrared night vision and cloud syncing. Silent. Hidden. The kind that didn't blink or make a sound when it activated. I knew exactly where to place it, tucked beneath the overhang, angled directly at the driveway and the side of the house. Out of sight, but with a perfect view of everything. I tested it, synced it to my phone, double-checked the alert settings. Then I waited. The hardest part was pretending nothing had changed. At breakfast, Bianca breezed in with a cup of iced coffee and a smug glow that made my blood boil. She didn't even glance at me. But when she sat down and stretched, her eyes flicked toward the window. Car still looks like crap, she said casually, stirring her drink. I didn't respond. She was baiting me. She wanted me to snap, to yell, to storm off, so she could play victim when I did. It was her oldest move. But not this time. I just looked at her, nodded once, and went back to my toast. That unnerved her. I saw the flicker in her eyes. Confusion. Suspicion. She wasn't used to me being quiet. Good. Let her wonder. The next few days were excruciating. Every time I got a phone alert, my heart jumped into my throat. Was it her? Was she going to do something again? I stayed late at work, parked the car where I always did, acted like nothing had changed. And each night, I checked the footage. Nothing. Until the third night. At 2:13 a.m., the motion alert buzzed. I opened the feed. There she was. Bianca. Creeping out of the house in pajama pants and a hoodie. She glanced around, checking the windows like a thief in a movie. She was holding something in her hand, a key or maybe a coin. Something sharp. She circled the car slowly, then leaned forward. The video was clear. Crystal clear. Her face. Her hand. The sound of metal scraping paint. She wasn't just vandalizing it again, she was writing. Another slur. Different this time, but just as vile. And when she finished, she stepped back, admired her work, and smiled. Smiled. Like she had just painted a masterpiece. Then she turned and walked back inside. I sat there, my hands shaking. It wasn't just evidence. It was confirmation. All these years, people saying I was too sensitive, too dramatic, making it up. And now? Now I had undeniable proof. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't sibling drama. This was deliberate malice. And it wasn't going to be swept under the rug this time. The next morning, I didn't say a word to her. I ate breakfast in silence, packed my things, left for work early. But before I did, I forwarded the video to myself, then to a lawyer, then finally to my parents. Subject line: you need to see this. No explanation, just the footage. An hour later, I got a reply. From Mom. Come home. Now. The house was silent when I pulled into the driveway. No music. No TV humming through the walls. No clinking of dishes or Bianca's usual stomping through the hallway like she owned the place. Just an unnatural stillness that settled on everything like a heavy fog. I opened the front door and immediately heard it, the creak of chairs shifting in the living room. My parents were waiting. I walked in slowly, phone already in my hand. Dad stood by the fireplace, arms crossed, face unreadable. Mom sat stiffly on the edge of the couch, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles had turned white. She looked up as I entered, but not with anger. With disbelief. Shock. Maybe even guilt. Sit down, she said quietly. I didn't. Instead, I walked over, turned my phone screen toward the TV, and cast the video again, just like I had that morning in the email. We watched in total silence. Bianca slinking across the driveway like a shadow. The scratching sound of metal against paint. The smirk. The slur. The walk back inside. When the footage ended, I turned off the screen and looked at them. My mom's lips parted, but no words came. Dad was pale. His jaw was clenched so hard I thought he might break a tooth. I told you, I said softly. I told you it was her. Mom finally spoke. We didn't know. We thought. You thought I was exaggerating. That I was making it up. That I just didn't get along with my perfect sister. She winced. Sweetheart. Don't. My voice cracked. I begged you for years to see how she treated me. And every time, you brushed it off. Every single time. That's when we heard it. Footsteps upstairs. Fast. Heavy. Bianca burst into the room still in pajamas, hair wild, eyes wide with panic. What did you do? Her voice was shrill, like a kettle about to scream. I turned to her slowly. What did I do? You recorded me. How dare you? You keyed my car. Twice. It's just a car. She was yelling now. Red-faced. Furious. Unhinged. You've been acting like you're better than me for years. Showing off with your little job, your stupid degree, your dumb car, like that makes you so special. It's not about the car, I said. And suddenly, I felt calm. Like everything had crystallized. It's about who you are when no one's looking. She turned to our parents, pleading. Mom. Dad. She's trying to make me look like some psycho. It was just a joke. I didn't mean. You didn't mean to carve slurs into your sister's property? Dad's voice was ice. You think that's a joke? Bianca faltered. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. She's always trying to make me look bad. She screamed. You never see what she does. She's manipulative, she trapped me. You walked out of this house in the middle of the night and vandalized her car with a coin, Mom said, her voice shaking. We saw it, Bianca. She recorded me. That's illegal or something. She set me up. No, I said firmly. I protected myself. For the first time in my life, I made sure I couldn't be gaslit out of the truth. Bianca stood there, panting, her eyes wild, her chest heaving. Then something broke. It was like all the fury drained out of her at once, replaced by something rawer, pathetic, childish. She collapsed onto the floor, sobbing. Loud, ugly cries that echoed off the walls. She clutched at her own shirt like she was unraveling. I didn't mean to hurt her, she cried. I was so sick of being compared, of everyone loving her more. No one said anything. No one comforted her. Because the truth had finally spoken. After a long silence, my dad turned to me. I'll pay for the repairs, he said. We'll fix the car. I'm not staying here, I said. Not anymore. He nodded. Mom stood up, approached me slowly. I'm so sorry, she whispered, eyes shining with tears. We failed you. I didn't respond. Because sometimes, sorry isn't enough. Because sometimes, the damage runs deeper than paint. I didn't leave the house that day. I walked out of it. Not in shame, not in fear, but with my head high and my truth intact. Bianca's sobs echoed behind me like sirens fading in the distance. But I didn't turn around. Not once. I'd spent years letting her win by staying silent, swallowing her insults, and tiptoeing around her anger. That version of me died the moment I pressed record, and in her place stood someone who finally believed she deserved peace. But I wasn't done. The next morning, I met with the lawyer I'd sent the video to. I showed her every photo, the police report, the text records, the camera footage. She looked at me across her polished desk and said calmly, "You have more than enough for a criminal mischief and property damage case. And quite frankly, if she tries to retaliate, you've got a slam-dunk civil suit too." I nodded. Let's do it. Not out of revenge. Out of principle. Because for once, I wanted the consequences that always seemed to dodge Bianca to finally hit her straight on. Serving her the court papers was oddly anticlimactic. I didn't hand them to her myself, of course. The process server did. But I was told she screamed, slammed the door, called our parents in hysterics. And you know what? They didn't defend her this time. Not anymore. I received 2 apology texts from Mom in the days that followed. Long ones, full of regret and guilt and all the things she wished she'd seen sooner. I didn't answer either of them. Not out of spite, but because I wasn't ready to reopen a wound that was just beginning to scar over. The court process was slow but clean. Bianca didn't deny the video. She couldn't. She tried to spin it. Of course, said she was having a mental health spiral, claimed she was provoked, and that she was under emotional strain from lifelong family pressure. But the judge saw right through it. He ordered her to pay full restitution for the car, plus emotional damages for harassment. She tried to dodge the fine, tried to delay it. But my lawyer was relentless. Garnished wages, froze accounts, did whatever it took. And Bianca? For the first time in her life, she was forced to deal with reality. No one could save her from it. Not charm. Not crocodile tears. Not a desperate call to Mom and Dad. The court had spoken, and I finally had closure. Today, I drive a new car. Paid in full. I park it without fear. I sleep without checking my phone for motion alerts. I live without the weight of someone constantly trying to cut me down just to make herself feel tall. Bianca doesn't speak to me anymore. Last I heard, she moved out of state, trying to start over. Good. Let her. But me? I'm done starting over. I'm done apologizing for existing. For being successful. For shining in a house that told me to dim myself. Because this time, I didn't let it slide. This time, I took the pain and turned it into power. And honestly, I don't regret a thing.